Hi, my name is Pat, and this is my channel, Book Chat with Pat, and I'm glad that you're here. Today is Saturday, May 11th, and this is my weekly wrap-up. First, I finished my reading for the quarter-final round of the BookTube Prize judging. I'm reading fiction this round, and I finished this week the sixth of my 6 books. I will discuss all 6 of these novels when the judging is over for this round, which will be later this month. I also, this week, began doing some poetry shorts again. I had done a poetry short every day in April for National Poetry Month, and I realized that I kind of missed doing them when May started and I wasn't doing them every day. So I did a bunch this week, and I probably will do some in the coming week as well. They're fun to do, and I really enjoy and appreciate hearing from the people who comment on them regularly. This past Thursday, in an effort to support Horror Mayhem, I devoted my Poetry Thursday episode to some spooky poetry. I focused on a couple of poems dealing with the theme of hauntings, and I read from Edgar Allan Poe and also Emily Dickinson. And I also read a poem that I had in another anthology by Henry Wadsworth Longfellow. I also this week did a video on another book that I finished in the Read 24 in 2024 challenge, banned book challenge, sponsored by MJ at Reading This Life. I posted a video of my reading of Malinda Lo's Last Night at the Telegraph Club, and I discussed its very, very dramatic banning and challenged history, just since it was published in 2001. Next, my book club met this week to discuss Percival Everett's new novel, James. And I had said that I wanted to wait until after my group met in order to talk about this novel. So now I feel like I can do that. This novel is a retelling of Mark Twain's Adventures of Huckleberry Finn from the enslaved Jim's perspective, but it is much more than that. While a significant part of the novel does follow the basic plot line of Twain's story, it also veers off into other more complicated territory. Seeing the world through the enslaved Jim's eyes, we see up close the horrors of slavery, which Twain never really addresses in his book. While Jim in The Adventures of Huck Finn is certainly depicted as a noble and heroic character, he's also depicted there as simple, trusting, patient, and very gullible. He shows love and devotion to Huck throughout, and even at times to Tom Sawyer in Twain's novel. Jim repeatedly jeopardizes his own life and freedom for Huck, and at the end of the novel for Tom too. So while Twain clearly depicts Jim as a hero, he does not fully develop his character beyond the stereotypes of the day, and therefore he is never able to fully develop Jim's humanity. Everett's character of Jim, or James, as he comes to be called, is a fully developed, complicated character of great intelligence, compassion, and courage. In this novel, Jim can read and write, both illegal activities for any enslaved person. Indeed, we learn that an enslaved person is lynched for having pilfered a pencil. In a delusion after a snake bite, Jim has a conversation with Voltaire. At other times, he converses with John Locke. Jim also knows how to use language to his advantage. He speaks in the slave dialect when in the presence of white people. But when he is with his family, they all speak perfect standard English. Jim, in fact, teaches the children how to speak in the slave dialect. When asked by his child why this is necessary, Jim explains, quote, "White folks expect us to sound a certain way, and it can only help if we don't disappoint them. The only ones who suffer when they are made to feel inferior is us. Perhaps I should say when they don't feel superior." Close quote. As in Twain's novel, Jim runs away to avoid being sold and separated from his family, and he ends up with Huck Finn, who has faked his own death in an effort to get away from his abusive father, Pap. The journey in Everett's novel is fraught with incidents of enslaved people being brutalized by cruel whites. Twain never shows this in his novel. Everett has said that he feels he is in dialogue with Mark Twain, and that he has, in fact, written the novel, quote, that Twain was not ill-equipped, but unequipped to write, that being the story of Jim. So I consider this more as being in discourse with Twain, close quote. While the docile and gullible Jim is the most noble character in Twain's novel, offering to forsake his freedom in order to help the wounded Tom Sawyer, who has actually been playing a huge prank on Jim, all for the sake of adventure, Everett gives Jim, or rather James, a powerful voice, a keen intellect, a compassionate heart, a complicated history, and perhaps most importantly, a profound human dignity. For Mental Health May, hosted by Marilyn Maya Mendoza and Kim at Middle of the Book March, I am continuing to read Jonathan Rosen's The Best Minds. But in the interest of shifting more toward self-care, which is the theme of the month, I have started Lori Gottlieb's Maybe You Should Talk to Someone, which is about a therapist and her own return to therapy herself. And then Horror Mayhem. I finished this week T. Kingfisher's A House with Good Bones. The excellent recommendation from MJ at Reading This Life. T. Kingfisher is actually the pen name for Ursula Vernon. This is the story of Samantha, or Sam Montgomery, an archaeoentomologist who studies insects in archaeological remains. She has returned to her family home in North Carolina. Her mom is living in the old family home once owned by her mother, referred to in the novel as Gran May, who was a nasty, judgmental, even cruel person in life. As soon as Sam returns home, she notices that there are strange things going on in this house and in her mother, who is very changed since the last time Sam saw her. Samantha narrates the story, and she is very funny. She's self-effacing with a penchant for sarcasm in her narrative. I liked her voice a lot, and I found myself laughing out loud more than once. This is a good thing because, as I've said numerous times, I am basically scared of horror. So the humor really helped, and it helped me to keep reading, especially when the story began to be very creepy. First, this is a haunted house story, and it's a ghost story. And it's a creepy insect story that kind of made my skin crawl. But it is also a story about family trauma and buried or not so buried family secrets. The novel builds suspense slowly so that as a reader, I was lulled into a sense of security that I could handle this book, telling myself, this isn't so bad, this isn't so scary. And then the horror elements fully manifest in the last quarter, leading to an exciting and hair-raising climax. I really enjoyed this book, and I would definitely read another book by this author if this one is indicative of her style. And thank you, MJ, for a terrific recommendation. So that's it for this week for my weekly wrap-up. As always, I thank you for watching. I hope that you're doing well. I'll speak with you again soon. Take care.